Hello, hello. Today I'd like to have a little look at some of the Tephra samples we brought back from La Palma. These are from the southern exclusion zone, and here we see that they're pretty dark and pretty glassy. So you can also see that they have rather irregular shapes, and this is a coarse fraction, and some of them are a bit pointy or triangular in shape or so, but they're all pretty shiny and glassy, and here I can wiggle them around a little bit. Here's a nice piece, and if you kind of look at this in more detail, you see the glassy surface but also the pointy edges. This one here is also very interesting because it's got some really spiny edges. So imagine this was a lot smaller, and it would be 10 micron or smaller particle, and you would actually breathe that in. This would get stuck in your lungs. And here's one that's a little elongated. You can just about see that it's got pointy edges as well. So then we have some larger particles here. Let me see whether I get them in. Yeah, here's some of them. So here's a somewhat larger lapilli fragment. Lapilli is more than about 2.5 centimeters in size or across, and you can see it's got big bubbles. You can actually look through this specimen here, and you can see the white from the paper underneath. So this is how they would look, and there we have to imagine that the synthicone, the La Palma synthicone, is made up of this type of material. It's basically a big pile of these fragments, of these fragmented magma chips, and when the magma rises through the conduit, what happens is that gas exhausts, and this gas will expand. It will make these bubbles, and once the bubbles become big enough, they fragment the magma. They rip it to shreds from the expansion. The concept is very similar to fizzy drink that's been shaken too hard. And once you decompress it, once you let the pressure out by opening the bottle of the fizzy drink, then the gas goes out of solution and makes these bubbles. And then they will actually push the fluid out of the bottle, and the fluid will actually be ripped into individual portions. And this is what happens to magma as well here in these strombolian type eruptions. And again, here we can actually look through. You can just about see that there's a little hole in there, and you can see some of the fluidal textures. So these were effectively cooling on flight or during flight, and by the time they were impacting on the ground, they were effectively solid. So this is how the tephra looks like in detail, and it's beautiful sample material. It's very fresh, and yeah, it also kind of gives you a sense for why volcanic tephra is a little bit dangerous when you inhale too much of it. And this is of course a coarse fraction, so this is not the problem. But imagine those are a lot smaller. They would actually be quite negative, quite bad for your breathing apparatus, for your respiratory system, and you would find it very hard to get them out again. So this is the problem that people on La Palma are facing right now. High particle load in the air makes it necessary for many of them to actually stay indoors or only go outside with certain masks or other filter equipment that allows them to take the air as a clean air and not as a contaminated air with particles. So this was a little look at this material. I hope you found that useful, giving you a little sense of how this material looks in detail. And I'd like to close here, say thank you for your attention and wish you all the very best. Bye-bye.